Today on the show, we pull on the thread and everything changes.
The power of one!
Hello there, and welcome to The Lost Cantina, the podcast that explores the stories, characters, and themes behind our favorite galaxy far, far away. I'm Kevin.
I'm Mother Jaden.
And I'm Father Connor.
Damn, Daddy in the house.
I'm not here though. There is no father. We all know that.
There is no father.
So
We'll get to it.
yeah, this is episode 3 of the ACOLYTE, which there's a lot of lore-heavy shit in this one. So prepare yourself.
I like the use of the word witch.
There's so much stuff
This is
in
a
this,
heavy
man.
one. This is a heavy one.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. The other thing, there's a lot of stuff people are bitching about that we're going to address too.
Yeah. I mean, this is the second week straight that, the news is broken that Star Wars is dead. Apparently Star Wars has been dead for 2 weeks straight now. That's all I'm hearing. Like, it's over. It's so over. It's never been more over than this. So, like, I keep having to wonder, like, are you going to stop talking about it then? Are you going to keep watching and keep bitching and keep harvesting hate clicks? That's all anyone's ever doing anymore.
At what point does the statement become a plea? Star Wars is over. Please let it be over.
Please let it be over. Like, that's the thing, though. My guy, you can just turn it off. Just stop watching.
Indeed.
I don't know. This was an interesting episode. I enjoyed it. I came away with a lot of thoughts. I thought it was a pretty interesting continuation of the mystery, kind of deepening the context. But yeah, some notes on this.
Yeah, I think I was kind of expecting this. I knew this episode was coming, like the backstory episode. I knew that was coming, but I was kind of expecting that. I don't know, like 3 more episodes in. To the show,
it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Although I do think that the purpose for this episode,
I'm sure it'll be revealed.
I think the purpose for this episode is going to showcase like Osha's point of view, and then I think we're going to get May's point of view during everything that's going on at the end of it.
There will probably
I think we're going to get
there will probably be other flashbacks that fill in the gaps on this one.
This one feels more like I would say a drama, but kind of like a mystery thriller, right? Like kind of the aspects of how it's going. And I will say I actually liked this episode more than 1 and 2 a lot, and I will say why, and it's because of the theme. And I think it's kind of interesting because you could take it to modern day now, right? Like for me, the theme was manipulation of like children. But we technically are like the audience, but we're kind of like children in this. Like we don't know what's going on, so like we're just kind of following what the adults, if you will, in this situation tell us and showcase to us. So because that's all we were getting in this episode, right? Like we're only getting what the adults say to like Osha. You'll have a couple of side chats, but like other than that, this is what we're just kind of given something at face value. And we have some stuff that we'll talk about, like why it's sus in some scenes and why we're trying to figure some stuff out. But overall, I think this episode was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I definitely took a lot from the relationship between the twins that was expanded on here. I had a lot to think. It definitely is a thinker. This episode makes you think about indoctrination, about how children are raised, how like predetermined paths through life, and kind of like making a decision for yourself at some point, and also the twin conundrum. There's definitely a psychological exploration of something that happens with a lot of people born with twin siblings, where one person really seeks individuality and the other person really clings to that bond. And we'll talk about that pretty soon too. But
before we
interesting episode. It felt like a little bit of a slump into an exposition dump to me. I still enjoyed the exposition, but it was kind of like a downslope from the stakes of the last episode. But that's
I feel like I was just starting to get invested in the characters that we had, and then this felt like a departure. I think
it was a diversion a little bit. Yeah. But
I think if we had like one more episode of the mystery deepening and then done the backstory, I think I'd be a little bit more invested. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll have a better sense of how the episode pacing all pans out at the end of the season, I think. But yeah, for now it's hitting different for everybody.
But before we get into it, we're gonna do that housekeeping real quick. So of course we love to hear from all of you. So email us thelostcantinapod@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about this episode, the series, and all that. Within reason, please. And of course, you can check us out on TikTok, Instagram, X. You can check us out on all the socials at The Lost Cantina. And a lot of people are streaming on Twitch again. I know there's a couple people streaming on the Lore Party Twitch feed, so it's lore_party if you want to watch. I also am streaming on my own, but everybody's streaming. We're all jumping on stuff. But yeah, if you haven't watched this episode, seriously, watch this episode, because
go to it.
This is the big one. This is where we kind of find out some stuff. It's a time skip back even further. So just watch this one first.
A long
times ago.
An even more longer time ago. Yes. But with that, but we're gonna jump into the discussion of this episode. Spoiler heavy discussion, by the way. You've been warned, so turn back now if you haven't watched, if you're not caught up. But before that, we're gonna take a quick break to go to commercial, hear from our sponsors. But stick around, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and we're ready to jump into our discussion. Again, you've been warned. Spoiler heavy discussion over The Acolyte, Episode 3, titled Destiny.
Titled
Destiny 2, play the raid with me, please.
The final shape.
The final
episode
shape.
3 of... Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so this episode opens on planet Brendock, which we've heard a lot about, but I think this is our first time actually seeing it. Planet Brendock, of course, the homeworld that Osha and May mention, they both mention being from. And this is 16 years in the past, so the twins are little girls, itty-bitty babies, and Osha is sitting under the I believe the Bunta tree, the tree that the poison from last episode comes from.
Yeah.
Yes.
And May comes and finds her and basically berates her for running away again. It seems that Osha has a habit of running away pretty often. Because it speaks, and we'll see this explored more later, but it speaks to a curiosity on Osha's part about the outside world, basically. But we also learn pretty quickly that they're not supposed to be outside, basically. It's against the rules for either of them to be outside of the quote-unquote fortress they live in, so it's like a little bit of I'm sorry, a what? You live in a where?
Yeah.
So,
I thought the beginning was kind of cool, though, too, because while they're hanging out, like, under the tree, they're both using the Force, but first Osha's using the Force on, like, this kind of interesting, like, bird
butterfly
creature that kind of reminded
yeah.
me of, I forget her name, but from the fourth Matrix movie, the little, like, weird flying robot that, the machine that, like, is on their side.
Didn't see it, sorry.
If you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't, you haven't. It's whatever. But
I think you're the only person who's seen The Matrix 4.
I'm gonna fight you. I actually liked it. After I watched Matrix 3, I instantly watched 4 and I liked it. Okay, it made more sense. Anyway,
okay.
So,
well, yeah, because you watched Matrix 3 before that.
You know what? I have the box set. Leave me alone. So
don't be mad at me because you got scanned into a box set. All right,
box sets are cool.
I love the Matrix. Don't even. We all live in a simulation. So basically, she's like interacting with this creature with the Force, and you can see that she's starting. I forgot who, because they're twins. I forgot who she was. I was like, wait, which one is this? And you see her kind of start having like a darker sense where she's like trying to force this creature to like not move with the Force, and then she kind of lets it go. And then May shows up and starts using the Force to an extent of like real true manipulation, right? Like bending
I thought she was
things
about to rip its wings off or something.
Yeah, like bending things to her will. Like they're both kind of bending things.
I was expecting some stomping puppies shit.
Yeah, but like she's like bending things to her will, right? Like both of them kind of are. But then OSHA says to May, like, "Whoa, chill the fuck out," and that's where you start to get this dynamic, like right off the bat, of like, hey, you're kind of torturing this thing with the Force. Like something's up with these two, and so that's where it kind of solidifies that they're clearly different, even though they may look the same, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they are quickly found and scolded by a woman named Coral, who context clues imply that it's a mother figure of theirs. They call her Mother Coral.
She's scary.
But yeah, scary, very stern. She's a Zabrak, I believe. Zabrak is her race.
Zabrak, yeah.
Zabrak, yeah, with the horns. Same race as Darth Maul.
Which is why a lot of people thought they were Night Sisters.
Fair assumption, because Darth Maul from like the people from Dathomir tend to be Zabrak. Yeah, but she basically ushers them back toward the fortress, reminding them, you're not supposed to be out here. How dare you? You're naughty girls, yada yada. And as they return to the fortress, they are spied upon by an unseen figure that we find out is Soul, a younger Soul,
a young master, sexy Soul.
He's looking good. He's I'm guessing not a master yet, probably a Jedi Knight still. And he's spying on them from behind a tree, and he seems surprised to see children here on Brendok. Yeah, we see the home that the twins live in and aren't supposed to leave. I noticed immediately, all women. Yeah, not a single man. And I mean, not to assume genders, but like just off the rip, like no male presenting people in this area. And so you could definitely get a witch coven vibe.
Yep,
right off the rip. And it is quickly confirmed, yes, this is a witch coven, basically.
Yeah. Well, because it's kind of cool, too, because I noticed by the outfits they're all wearing, and just like kind of even the tree and just like the colors, everything, it felt more fantasy, right? Like this felt so much like a fantasy Star Wars rather than sci-fi. And I kind of liked that.
Well, more Lord of the Rings.
More Lord of the Rings. Yeah. I got this sense of like, so we've spent a lot of time with the Night Sisters in the more prequel era Star Wars media, but this is different. I feel like this is more of a woo woo live in the woods pagan commune type of feel. Like
these are hippies.
Yeah, kind of. That's the impression I get.
Or it could be Themyscira. Come on.
A little bit of that too. Yeah, Themyscira. Yeah, like the Amazons. I get that. But all the women living in this fortress seem to answer to a figure named Mother Anasaya, who, when the twins see her, they call her Mama. That's their mom. That's their main mother figure. They're happy to see her.
Absolutely stunning, by the way. This woman is
gorgeous.
My God,
Jodie Turner-Smith, I believe the actress's name is.
No, her name is Mommy. Stop.
Stop. She was rocking this look for sure, and commands respect. Had stage presence here, and she has a moment with Mother Coral. You get the sense that they're a couple of some sort, and they seem to raise the twins together. Coral is the strict mother, Anasay is the fun mother.
Kind of similar to their daughters, right?
A little bit, yeah. And Coral seems to think, you're too easy on the twins. They're not normal children. Anasay is saying like, oh well, it's normal for OSHA to push her boundaries. She's a child. That's what children do. But Coral says no, they shouldn't be allowed outside. It's too much is at stake. Yada yada.
Which I found interesting too, because there's another little mini theme I will say that goes throughout this episode, is that she wants to treat them like children, right? Like she wants to respect them as children. And Soul does the same thing, and I'll get to that scene when we get to it. But there's two adults here that I trust personally, like that I would say like, okay, these are trustful people because they respect the decisions of these kids and they don't just treat them like stupid children. They're like, hey, no, you're a child. I talk to you like an adult, and you're going to make these decisions. And they address these decisions. Both of these people addressed the fact that these kids have choices to make, and they will respect them. However, there's a little bit of points in there that I would say are kind of, they say they'll respect them, but then they don't.
Yeah. So we cut to a training session where the twins are being trained in Force powers, but this is not normal Force training that we're used to seeing from the Jedi. The Coven seems to perceive the Force, they refer to it as the thread. The thread, they say it connects all living things and it's woven through all of existence, which they're just describing the Force. They call it something else, but it's just the Force. But they seem to be at odds with Jedi teachings. They seem to have like a different philosophy. Mother Anastasia says that the thread is not a power to command. And she kind of like puts a little stank on it, like a little scorn in that statement, kind of implying that like the Jedi do think that the Force is a power to command, which I think speaks to a misunderstanding on her part. Because I would bet you any Jedi you ask would not tell you that the Force is a power to command. That's not how they think of it.
No.
So
they think of it as a power to wield, which is a very different distinction.
It's more of, I always thought of it as, a truth to embrace and channel. It's like, hey, it's there. We use it to serve the light. We don't like bend it to our will. That's not what we do.
Well, they describe it as
the Sith believe it is bending to their will.
But the witches here, they describe it as something. The quote is, "It ties you to your destiny and binds you towards others." Which I thought that was really cool because it's like it showcases still that you're connected to other people, but it also binds you to like your destiny. Like it's that predetermined thing. They have that concept, which we know as, the world between worlds and that kind of stuff, like time and the way the Force is, there's predetermined things that will be happening.
The Coven's perception of the thread and the way they explain it, the way they, practice it, not to put too fine a point on it, but it speaks to me a little bit of a culty angle on like, it's kind of like if you take this universal truth that all Force sensitive people in the galaxy understand on some level, which is that there's a Force that connects all living things, and you twist it into this thing that connects you to others and binds you to your destiny. If you're a cult leader, like you could maybe argue Anastasia is, you could easily use that as a tool to convince Force sensitive children who are in your care that their destiny is to do what you say and to preserve your way of life and be a part of the Coven forever, basically. So, I not to be too uncharitable to this character, but that's what I took away from that whole thing. No. But no, so while this is happening, May obviously takes to the training. She's like into it and like
all in, man.
Adept at it too, has a talent for it. Osha's reluctant though. She's been showing reluctance most of the episode. Reluctance for the training, but also she's reluctant to take part in an upcoming ritual called the Ascension.
So one of the things that we've noticed throughout the entirety of the series so far is that Osha doubts.
Yeah.
And as we all know, doubt kills your connection to the Force.
Yep. Yes.
Going all the way back to when Luke couldn't lift the X-wing out of the swamp.
Your will flies out the window when you doubt yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think May fully invested in the Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm. No doubt there whatsoever.
She believes in all the psycho mumbo jumbo that's happening in this Coven, and Osha says, "Well, what about everything else out there in the galaxy? Why can't we try that stuff?"
Right. Yeah, they're like later on they're being prepared for the ritual. The twins are having like their hair braided ritually, and like they're being just gussied up and all that, and they're just sitting there like. And philosophical differences are pouring out of the mouths of babes. It's so funny it's a clever scene, the way it's written and portrayed and acted, where it's children who don't realize they are having like a existential disagreement with each other. So, but like it still comes off as like a sisterly dispute, like a bickering, but it's very fundamental to their personalities, where Osha does have a curiosity about the galaxy at large outside of Brendok, but May is satisfied with what she has and is like embracing this life that has been expected of her.
So two things about this. One, first off, these child actors are very fucking good. They're good. They're very good.
They were solid.
Now, if you notice, they're being dressed constantly exactly the same. So I have cousins that are twins, and when they were kids, they would get dressed exactly the same. Same haircut, same whole fucking thing. Saw a lot of people online bitching about this, like when they're older, that they look the same. Why would they have the same haircut? So first off, if you understand this Coven situation that we're looking at it, they look the same, right? They're being like programmed to look the same. Okay,
groomed.
They're
basically
made that way. They are conditioned that way. So, for instance, their hair being the same, I saw a lot of that shit being complained about right online, and I'm sorry, but maybe OSHA wanted to keep her hair the same haircut because she wanted to remember her past. Like after we watch this episode, we see what happens.
Both sisters think the other one is
Both
dead.
of them think each other was dead. So like it's one of those things.
It's a comfort thing.
Maybe it's something where they want to remember their past. It's just like one of those things where I see these complaints and I'm like, they're so fucking stupid off the bat. Like really, like I want people to just think about like maybe not judging a work like right away.
Also,
off of something so stupid, so fucking trivial.
Also, let's call a spade here. Twins can be weird. There's that twin connection thing that twins have, and it's like maybe they were both like, "Hey, let's keep my hair this way."
It's a habit thing too. It becomes like it's a comfort zone thing. It's like
twins have that weird telepathy thing, man.
Too.
Twins will tell you if you know any twins, they'll tell you they have like a weird thing where they're like, I know exactly what my twin is thinking right now. And it's like, do you though? And they're like, yeah, I was definitely thinking about hot dogs right now.
So with OSHA being scared about this ceremony she's got to go through, her mother comes in and is like, hey, let's talk about this, which is interesting because we see OSHA get a lot of one-on-one time and a lot more personal time and more attentive time, whereas May doesn't seem to get that as much because she's like the poster child, like she's the one who actually
she doesn't need it as much.
Exactly
doesn't need corrected.
But one thing that I found really kind of interesting, if you want to talk about like differences from Jedi, I also see differences from Sith, right? So she says she's scared, and her mom explains that like this ritual and the usage of the thread, right, is something that you shouldn't let your fear dictate everything. This ritual is for you to walk, like it's about walking through fear, which I thought was good because it's like, okay, so you're teaching the fact that like, hey, don't let the fear dictate what you do. Like you're gonna it's nothing. It's something that you just need to get over and like say, you know what, fuck you, fear. I'm not. It's just something where I was like, okay, so you're not using fear as like a power, if you will.
I also found it interesting that this scene, you see, Anastasia comes in and asks OSHA what's wrong, and May answers for her sister. She doesn't let OSHA talk.
Yeah.
And like several times, and their mother has to correct her, like, let your sister speak, like let OSHA say, what she wants to say. And I think it again, I feel like just the way the script and the direction in general, like really illustrates these different personalities where May feels so comfortable with her twinhood, like takes it as granted basically that they are the same person, so she can speak for her sister because they're thinking the same thing. They're simpatico. Why wouldn't they be? It's just an assumption she makes. And then as OSHA slowly, gradually admits, like, no, I want something else. I want a different life. The rift between them, like visually, personally, you see it grow.
Body language, the whole thing.
Yeah, the body language, you see it grow scene by scene. I think it's done really well. That was pretty cool. But yeah, so the ritual happens. It's night. It's creepy. It's like this big, elaborate group gathering of all the coven, and the stars are there's like a constellation above them. The stars are glowing. They're drawing power through the thread from it.
Have you noticed that the two moons above them are the O in ACOLYTE in the title? It is the same color and everything. The two O's.
I did not catch that.
Yeah,
that's cool though.
Same thing. Same exact thing.
Good eye.
Personally, I thought this scene was whack. I'm just gonna say it right away. The power of many instead of the power of one. The chants and the laugh, the cackle. I'm sorry.
I will say I agree. That took me, like, I was taken out of the scene a little bit just because it felt a little goofy. The tone shift was weird.
It reminded me. Have you guys seen those videos online of like the women who go out into the woods to scream?
No.
There's like this retreat that you can pay, like it's like a really expensive thing. It's one of those things that like
in the woods. I can do that in my backyard.
Yeah, they pay this like this seminar. Exactly, they pay this seminar to go walk out in the woods and scream out all of their angers when you could just do that into an Xbox Live headset. Like
I can just vent my frustrations at a 12-year-old on Call of Duty like a normal person. No, but no, screaming in the woods is appealing. I get that. I see it. But no, like I did laugh at this scene a little bit. Like it had a goofy tone shift to it where, yeah, the chanting was kind of weird. And yeah, there was one random witch among the coven who would just laugh maniacally after every chant. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And she was the only one doing it. That's why it was so weird to me. I was like, listen, if it was like a group thing where everyone was laughing maniacally, that would be creepy. That would set the tone.
Listen.
But just one of you doing it, it's like, what the fuck are you on?
It was fucking weird.
Caroline hit the blue milk a little hard last night.
Hey, every coven has that one party animal, right?
Yeah.
But no, so the ritual is underway. It's like basically halfway through. May swears an oath essentially to further the goals of the coven, like kind of devote her life to their way of life essentially. And
we see the thread, by the way. When they use it, we visually see it's a blue and red, like the planets, like the title. Mm-hmm. We see that color. It literally kind of looks like the Destiny 2 thread.
Like a pillar of light that is channeled into May, and it actually it paints the white mark on her forehead, and that's how that gets there. But before Osha can very very reluctantly make the same oath.
Perfect interruption.
Perfect timing. The ritual is interrupted when our 4 Jedi who we've met before, Indara, Sol, Torben, and Kalnaka, all arrive. Torben, noticeably a Padawan at this time, 16 years ago. Yep. He's Indara's Padawan. Sol and Kalnaka, I'm guessing, are both knights at this point. And they all arrive, and basically just announce like, hey, we're just dropping in to make sure that no children are being, harmed or indoctrinated or trained to use the dark side here.
Now, wait, hold on. What's that over there? Is that a small child being indoctrinated and or brainwashed?
Well, what's weird is at first, so they get a warning that the Jedi are there. So Anastasia says that she doesn't want any violence because all the women are ready to like fucking go. The coven's like, all right,
they got bows, they got spears, they're ready to
no violence. And when the Jedi show up and they're having this discussion, she literally like force possesses or thread possesses Torben. And I'm like, I thought you said no violence. Like you're trying to start a fight. What the fuck is this?
That was like, it was like a negotiating tactic, I guess. She tried to. So, but before we get there, like she orders the twins to hide behind other members of the coven, not make a single noise, just hide. And so when the Jedi show up, Coril and Anastasia have this hard line, like, there are no kids here. What are you talking about? We don't have any kids here. And what's so funny, Kalnaka, the Wookiee Jedi, he like sniffs and like says something in Shariwook and like makes noise. And like I laughed my ass off for a second there because I'm like, dude, does Kalnaka can he just sniff out children? Can he smell kids from like 30 yards away? Like, dude, how did you do that?
What are we implying about Kalnaka?
Yeah, Kalnaka, buddy, how'd you do you want to explain? Are you on a list we should know about, Kalnaka? You want to explain yourself? No.
Kalnaka is banned from every Build-A-Bear on Coruscant.
But no, so
I love Sol somehow in this scene, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very compassionate. He picks up on the cue that there are children hiding among the crowd, and so he just kind of kneels, puts a hand out, and says, "It's okay, come on out. No one's going to hurt you." And Dara also, just gently coaxing Osha comes first out of the crowd, and so it's suddenly Coral has this look on her face like, "God damn it, I've been caught in a lie. I just said there were no children here."
Here's the thing. I think they Soul saw them at the beginning of the episode, so like they know.
Yeah, so they knew there were kids here, yeah. And so they, make this gesture of like, "Hey, well, we're Jedi. We're here to help. We're not here to hurt anybody. And if you'd like, you could come with us and find out if you can be a Jedi too." Just Soul making this gentle sales pitch, like, because I think he knows already. He probably knew right off the bat these twins are very gifted in the Force, and so he's like, if we can get a chance to test them and make them younglings, we should take it because they are gifted.
I will say that I do think both sides are starting to manipulate these children. I think the Coven, clearly we know they were manipulating them in a way of like, how May is manipulated into being just like what you said, Connor, like how you can tell them like, actually, trust me, I'm your mom, trust me, I'm the cult leader kind of situation. But also I think the Jedi do have a certain type of arrogance to them that, well, I think Soul specifically is not manipulative, but I can see the other Jedi trying to assert their dominance and showing how like they're cool, and powerful.
The thing that we can imply from what they've said is that it appears that it may be illegal to teach children the Force unless you're a Jedi.
Well, no,
it's like a republic. It's a republic law, basically.
It's a republic law, yeah. But this planet's not part of the Republic.
Yeah, Coral the witches say, well, Brendok's not part of the Republic, and so Kevin, to your point,
rules lawyering each other essentially.
Yeah. So to your point, Kevin, Indara does come on slightly stronger than Soul, but she does make it clear that we're not going to take the children from you without your consent.
Yeah.
Like the parents need to consent to their children receiving Jedi training. So
I think when they ask, where's the father?
So yeah, that is where we get to the point where like, so where's the twins' father? And Anastasia clearly, comes out. They have no father. The classic Shmi Skywalker line. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. There's no father. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So we're gonna address.
Not that I know of, at least.
So we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll unpack that later. So that, of course, also kicked the hornet's nest and caused an internet shitstorm. People,
we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. Let's focus on the scene.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. So yeah, the coven witches, they say there is no father. The twins are just theirs. And yeah, it's made clear that it's kind of like the kid needs to want to be tested to be a Jedi, and the kid's parents also need to consent. That's the way it works. But Indara makes the point that the Jedi have the right, like by Republic law and just by kind of spiritual appointments as guardians of justice, basically, that if a child is gifted in the Force, you have to let us at least test and determine their aptitude and all that.
And here's the thing: I want to say this for the people in the back, because we even have people on in our lore party staff that are convinced that Jedi just steal children.
Yes, and that's Soul addresses it. Oh yeah,
do not steal children. I need to shout it from the fucking rooftops. If you do not want your child to become a Jedi, they do not become a Jedi.
And Soul straight up yells this out because they get called out, and just like people will say, they'll go, "You steal children," and Soul gets pissed, and he's like, the Jedi do not steal children.
See, here's the thing, and honestly, I think he's. We're gonna find out in later episodes, but there's a chance that Soul was saying that not just to the witches, but to the members of his squad as well. Because there might have been some pressure from it. Because I'm gonna be honest here, guys. I'm thinking Indara is probably the secret villain of this show. We're gonna find out that she's kind of fucked up.
Possibly, yeah.
And so I'm thinking maybe Indara came in there with the intention of we're going to take these fucking kids, and Soul had to be like, whoa, we can't just take them because they're not just things to be taken.
They're not. It's like they're not orphans. They still have parents to speak for them and to like have rights over their well-being and all that.
There was an episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars where Cad Bane impersonates a Jedi and is kidnapping youngling candidates from across the galaxy. And there's even a scene where, this mother is with her child, and she's like, the Jedi told me that he was too young to be taken now. And he's like, oh yeah, no, we're going to take him now because that's what we need to do. And it's like, that shows that there's an established protocol for this shit.
Right.
The Jedi, they wait till a certain age.
There's like a window. There's not too young, not too old, basically.
Yeah, because they said in an episode, was it 1 or 2? They said Osha was really old when she was taken to the Jedi.
She was older than normal. Yeah.
Yeah, she was 8 years old, which is super gross old for Jedi apparently.
So this standoff comes to a head where, Soul and Indara are doing most of the talking. Kelnaka and Torben are kind of just off to the side. Soul and Indara are doing most of the talking, where they're just basically trying to convince Anastasia that, hey, if your kid wants to come with us and get tested, you kind of have to let her. And Osha has said that she wants to be tested. She wants to be a potential Jedi. And Anastasia, Kevin, you mentioned this earlier, has a little bit of a show of force, doesn't quite start a fight, but she uses the thread to possess Torben. His eyes go black and he collapses, and she says, if you want your Padawan returned to you in his right mind, you will leave this place, leave our children with us, and go away, basically. But Osha pretty much breaks the standoff by just saying, like, no, mother, I want to go with them. It's fine.
Yep. I think Osha just wanted the chance to see what another life
could be.
I don't think she wanted to be forced to become a
that
witch.
Curiosity of hers. She just wants to see what's out there. And Anastasia reluctantly accepts. She's like, fine, we'll bring them to you tomorrow. And, that's that. Just get out of here. And so later that night, the witches all determined that, like, hey, if the twins pass the test, they'll be taken away. We'll probably never see them again. They'll be trained as Jedi. But if they fail, if they are not tested as potential Jedi, then they stay here. And so
that's when the argument starts about who's in charge of these kids. You get the quote, I carried them versus I created them.
Yes, Coral wants to just leave, like take the twins and leave, but Anastasia, says, no, we're staying here, we'll play along. And yeah, Coral does do that whole, like, I carried them. Anastasia responds with, I created them. So yeah, again, we'll get into this in more detail later, but yeah, this more exposition over how the twins were born. But so yeah, the deal is struck. They'll take May and Osha to the Jedi tomorrow to be tested, but the twins are asked to deliberately fail the test. Yeah. Basically lie on whatever you sense or whatever you're asked.
No.
And May's like, yes, ma'am. Absolutely 1000%. What do you want me to do?
Now, when they're talking about this, though, May starts yelling that the Jedi are bad, and Osha's like arguing with her in front of their mom, and the quote the mom says, she goes, this isn't about good or bad, this is about power and who is allowed to use it. And I think that's kind of, it's the thing about, like, the Jedi Sith, like, who's good, who's bad. Like, yeah, I know Palpatine's bad, but, like, obviously the villains always think they're good, right? The Sith Empire was still an empire. A lot of fucking people lived under the Sith Empire, and they thought they were good people. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just how you use that power, right? It's who uses it, how they use it. It's just, that's all it is.
Right. Yeah, there is that. That goes back to, I think, the fundamental beliefs of this coven is that, our interpretation of the Force, our practice of the thread, is just as valid as the Jedi's practices. And we were persecuted and driven here, exiled to Brendok, and that's why we kind of live as outcasts. And I was thinking, like, obviously there's every chance that Anastasia and Coral and their coven have been unfairly persecuted in the past. That's definitely possible, but it's also very possible that there's a pretty good reason they were persecuted. Maybe because like they have that line earlier at the ritual where, like, just because some consider our abilities dark or unnatural, like, well, what did you do? Did you maybe?
What did you exactly? It's the question of, like, it's like, we didn't do nothing wrong. We only enslaved a couple of people.
Well, maybe it was that fucking cackle. Maybe that's what it was. Shit, man.
What'd we do? We mind controlled some Padawans, turned their eyes black, and
that's the thing. Well, that's all we did. You can't tell me we're innocent little guys hanging out here, and then be like, oh, by the way, I can take over your fucking mind.
We're just small beans. We're just woo pagan campers who want to live in the woods.
What's that Fred Armisen line? I'm just a little baby.
I'm just a baby.
But yeah, so the next day, they're taken to the Jedi ship that they're camped at nearby, and May just browbeats her sister, forces Osha to promise to lie and deliberately fail the test, and Osha goes, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. like agrees to promise, but not really wholeheartedly. And she has a quick moment with Kelnaka that I thought was interesting. He's like welding a speeder bike or repairing a bike or something, and she walks up to him, and he like, again, just growls, makes a noise. You don't know what he says, but I'm guessing some kind of greeting, and he's just like, hello, like, what's up?
Which I don't know if you guys caught that, but that was the origins of her interest in mechanics.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Sorry, mech necks.
Being a mech neck. I'm not saying mech neck. Fuck that. But so, like, again, that she's fascinated by, like, these are the first other people she's ever met, basically. Like, you know, and I guarantee she's never seen a Wookiee before. So she's like, wow, this is so cool. And yeah, she's brought, May goes first. She's brought onto the ship. And then a few minutes later, May comes back out looking smug and triumphant. Like, yeah, I did what I was supposed to do. I lied perfectly. I failed the test. And then Osha goes in and, you know, she tries to throw the test. She's like answering what she's answering wrong. But Sol and Indara, who are giving the test, they determine, okay, she's holding out on us. Like, this is
clearly you're failing too well.
Yeah, right. And, you know, they basically convince her, like, hey, be honest. Like, what do you actually want? You can't, you know, you can't decide your path in life without being true to yourself. And, you know, you have to like find the inner strength to tell the truth, basically.
And it mostly comes from Sol. And I would say, like, I think this guy's story is heartwarming, but also really sad. Like, he doesn't seem to be manipulating her, right? Like I don't think he is. The way he's speaking to her, it seems like he has like best intentions.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm just picturing like Sol's fucking face on a poster that just says "Breaking news: one man in company does his fucking."
But yeah, I mean, he seems to have like the best intentions for her, and just in general when it comes to younglings, right? Like I think that there's also a purpose for us to have seen him in the first episode teaching a giant group of younglings. Like there's a reason it's him, right? Like I think he genuinely cares about the upbringing of children and like wants to make sure that children, you know, keep their innocence while still learning and still like having that wonder of the world, right? Like they claim like after the whole test thing, you know, she ends up passing clearly because it was her decision to say, hey, I'm going to do this, right? And her mom said that she was going to have her back if whatever decision she wanted, right?
I think what pushed her over the edge, though, I think what really convinced her to be honest with herself and actually apply herself to the test was when Sol explained that, you know, when I joined the Jedi, I found out there were others like me, that I was among other special individuals,
other children.
The fact.
Other kids.
Yes.
And she was like, ooh.
The idea that Osha
someone other than my sister?
Yeah, right. The idea that Osha could meet other kids strong with the Force, like, that was immediately, that was the light switch. Like, yes, that's what I want then. So, yeah, she passes the test, and
they claim Jedi mind trick, which...
Yeah.
Here's the thing, I don't think she needs to. Or he didn't need to do
that. Wasn't necessary at all.
I will say this. I have seen the Jedi mind trick been used in this show more than any time in Star Wars. It was constantly being used by every Jedi in the first two episodes. So I understand where they're like, you just used a mind trick, because it's like these Jedi seem to be so quick to use it all the time. But I just think, like, if you really think about how he treated her, he didn't have to, right? Like, he treated her like a person and not like an experiment, you know, like not like he respected her.
He just spoke to her with compassion and understanding, and that's all it took. And of course, May is furious that Osha broke her promise, like just freaking out. And also the idea that their mother might let Osha leave, May is just losing her fucking mind and going berserk. And, you know, Coral takes May for a walk, like, go cool off. And so Anastasia and Osha have a heart-to-heart, and Anastasia, I will say, Mother Anastasia was a pretty textured character. She had layers to her where obviously she, you know, has conviction over their way of life and, you know, her practices, and, you know, her, you know, she's very protective of her tribe, basically. But when she explains to Osha, like, hey, if this is your path, you're going to have to make a decision not based on fear. Like, fear cannot make this decision for you. And, you know, she hugs her daughter Osha and wipes tears away and says, you know, we'll figure this out in the morning. You know, if this is what you want, this is what you want. So very much a sad but understanding acceptance of what her daughter wants to do. So it's like, I can't force you to stay here.
She says,
if that's not what you want.
She even says, she goes, destiny is not decided for you by an anonymous force. You get to make a choice. And that's the big thing, is she's trying to respect her daughter's decision. She also says fear should not make this decision. You should. Just like, you know, that's obviously a thing. But one thing, because she's old, right? Technically, she's too old to be chosen to be a Jedi. She's but there's something obviously about her that needs to seem like Anakin. But I found it kind of funny because it's like, yeah, I respect your decision. Let me, by the way, discuss your decision so that we can make a decision about your decision. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second.
We'll take it under advisement.
Yeah,
the elders and I.
How is it really her decision then?
Yeah, but you can see, like, I think on a mother's face you can see the thoughts happening behind her face, where it's like she's working through it. Like, I don't quite accept this yet, but I'm getting there. And it's one of those things. It was a sad scene, because what follows, things are getting tense. Osha starts packing her belongings. She's putting some stuff in a bag, and she has a little sketchbook that she was drawing in earlier that she wouldn't show May, and that started a fight too.
Pissed about that.
Like, why are you hiding things from me? What? May's a psychopath, dude. This is a freaky
May's
little kid.
Tendencies.
This is some Damien Omen shit.
Right. And it's no clearer than right here when, Osha's getting ready to leave, and May basically traps her and says, I won't let you go. Like, you can't leave. And Osha's like, what are you going to do about it? And May basically says, I'll kill you. I will literally kill you,
dude,
rather than let you leave.
From like a 2 to an 11.
I was like, what the fuck?
I hit the back of my couch so fast, like, what the fuck? Holy shit. Where'd that come from? And so, May locks the door, traps Osha in their room, and then she grabs a lantern. And I think it happens off screen, so I don't think we explicitly see her break.
Book. She gets her.
Oh, yeah, she sets the sketchbook on fire. Yeah, the sketchbook gets set on fire. And, okay, another note, I don't know if this is a nitpick or not, but, like, the fire outside the door that Osha is trapped behind spreads really fucking quick. And I'm like, is this entire place made of wood? Like, wood soaked in kerosene or something? Like, what the fuck?
Fake wood, actually. It was like greased wood.
Yeah, very greasy wood.
I thought it felt like maybe May was using...
It's a metal door, too. What the fuck? You're absolutely... Connor, I just accepted it. But
I thought the entire place they were in was like a mountain. I thought it was like stone.
Yeah, it was like stones.
Yeah, I was like, how is this burning? What the shit?
So I think what happened was
stone from Game of Thrones.
May's emotional state. She was using the force, the thread, and she was using it to spread the fire. That's how I took it.
Maybe.
But
it's a little flimsy, but I'll accept it.
Well, like, think about it. Like, think about the things that can happen when somebody is...
That thread is thin.
It's tenuous.
Think about what happens when somebody's emotional and they have abilities, right? Like, that's what shit like that happens, right? So I could see it spreading all of a sudden, just being like thrown all, like she's just an angry kid throwing it everywhere, like she's just pissed.
That's possible, but that wasn't. That's possible, but that wasn't communicated visually very well.
But I think there's a reason why we didn't see this the rest of the scene, because we only follow Osha next, and everything seems to be really fucking sus.
Yeah. Things move quickly. Osha, is trapped, and there's a fire spreading in the fortress, and she again shows an early proclivity for machinery. She has like a bit of a technical gizmo whiz kid moment where she basically hacks the vent door in her room so she can escape.
A mechanic moment.
She nailed that QuickTime event.
A little bit of she passes the QuickTime event, has a mech moment, and escapes from the fire. But as soon as she escapes the room, she runs outside and finds basically the entire coven dead. All the witches are just lying on the floor, dead from unknown causes. Like you assume while she's in the vent, there's an explosion.
That's after Soul.
Yeah, okay, hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. So she's in the vent, and there's an explosion above her. She hears the screams, and you kind of get the impression that maybe that's where the coven dies. But she's again still underground underneath the fortress when she's on like a bridge, and May's on the other side, and the bridge starts collapsing. They're separated by a chasm. Classic Star Wars moment. Separated by a chasm.
You hear Soul yelling May's name as well. He gives a shit about both of them.
He's running into the fortress to save both the twins.
Which lends to my theory that May doesn't want to kill Soul.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Last episode,
when they were when she confronted him last episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when he confronted her. So there's a moment where May's trying to convince Osha to jump over to her so they can escape together, and Osha's reluctant again. Reluctance is her like defining trait in this episode. But then the bridge collapses, and as far as we can tell, ostensibly May falls into a chasm below, but Soul manages to catch and rescue Osha at the last second, and they flee together. They run from the fortress. They pass the bodies of the coven. They also pass the burned corpse of Mother Anastasia. And
she's not burned.
Not burned.
I mean, I thought she looked burned. No.
Okay. They're not burned.
None of them are burned.
I stand corrected.
I
thought I saw smoke coming off of her, or was the smoke maybe from lightsaber wounds?
Just smoke from exactly. We don't know.
Sus.
If I'm a betting boy, I'm betting that Indara and Torben fucked them up.
I'm hitting the button right now, calling for an emergency meeting. This is sus.
This is quite sus.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, that's essentially where the episode wraps up. We get to a scene where Osha passes out, and then she comes to on the Jedi ship where she's being treated, and they're flying to Coruscant. And Soul tells her, like, listen, it's going to be okay. You're safe now. You'll be safe in Coruscant, and I will train you. You'll be my Padawan. I'll be responsible for you. And he says an interesting line. He says, you'll never feel this way again. It's like a promise he makes to her, which, if you ask me, that's a hefty check.
A hell of a promise.
Yeah, that's a hefty check you're writing. I'm not sure you're going to be able to cash.
Well, before the bridge collapses, there's something that happens that I think adds to this scene, right? So, again, I'll say manipulation runs rampant in this fucking show currently. Absolutely. In this episode. May blames Osha for everything that happened. She's like, basically like, look what you did. Look what you did.
Yeah.
And so when May sees, when May falls and everything, and now Osha sees her mom and sees everybody, she's crying and stuff. She wakes up, and you can see the pain in her eyes, right? You can see the pain of like, my decision was selfish and it killed everyone, and I did this because my sister also said it. She enforced that, but Soul like is the one to comfort her. And again, this guy gives a shit about these kids. This guy really is like, hey, it's okay, you didn't do this. Like, I think the fact that it shows that he's the one who's there for her right when she wakes up to comfort her and everything, I think that really lends to the fact that in the last two episodes, he's really is like a father figure for her. Absolutely. Rather than just a master, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And that does speak to the guilt that Osha carries further into her life later on, where, which kind of implies like the reason she drops out of Jedi training is she just never managed to get over the guilt and grief that she had over this event that we see here in this episode.
And the other thing too is like, you think about this, Saul's probably the first positive, probably first ever male figure that she's ever encountered.
First father figure,
first father figure and first just male person that she's ever encountered.
Right. So yeah, that's a deep bond for sure.
Yeah.
The last thing we see though, May appears in the garden outside the fortress near the Bunta tree.
Back by the Bunta tree.
It turns out she survived, and she finds herself alone in the ruins on Brendok, and we cut to credits. That's episode 3.
All right, so now that you've heard everything, heard the episode, heard a couple thoughts, before we get into what we really think about this episode, and I think what we loved and some people want to complain about, Jaden, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back. So Connor, I would love to know, what did you think overall of this episode? What do you think's going to happen? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I pretty much touched on a lot of it earlier. I think just to reiterate, I thought this was a really slow burn, interesting exploration of twin psychology, child psychology, in group thinking, out group thinking, kind of like a. Indoctrination. It's an exploration of really heavy, interesting themes like that. And even though I feel like it was held back a little bit, we mentioned this earlier too, Jade and I both feel like this was maybe a strange pacing choice where from episode 2 you kind of skate downhill into this exposition dump flashback type episode. But even though episode 3 kind of starts at that, disadvantage, I still feel like it carried off some really interesting themes. I thought the performances were all great. I thought the writing was solid, so I was still pretty happy with it.
It's gonna sound silly, but like this is an episode that I would have expected episode 4 or episode 1 mixed in with what we saw in episode 1. If that makes sense.
Like maybe A plot, B plot, back and forth type thing.
You got a flashback, flash forward, just because it was like this. I don't know, like I like the characters we have so far, but I'm not in love with any of them yet. I think the strongest one I feel affinity for is Soul and Osha.
Sure.
But like, I mean, the rest of the characters I don't really have an attachment to. And I feel like if they established the other Jedi a little bit more before this, I think I would give a shit about like, oh, why are they killing these Jedi? Now I'm just kind of like,
I get that. I personally, I feel invested already just because like I have unanswered questions that I'm hungry for answers for, because like, after this episode, I still want to know like what exactly was Torben so guilty over? What would he kill himself over? Because what we saw in this episode, and same question for Indara, like, she obviously saw something coming when she was confronted by May. She had this sense of like, this is my past coming back to me. So like what I want to know, what I'm looking forward to from future episodes is what did we not see in this episode that happened where, what was Torben guilty over? What really happened to the rest of the coven? What did he mean by we thought we were doing the right thing? So yeah, I still have unanswered questions that like, this is one of those things where, again, this episode, was a bit of a downslope in terms of pacing, but like it still left me hungry for more. So I think it did the job well enough.
I think the fact that we see so many like interactions with children, right? Like everybody's always talking about Star Wars is, their thing, and I'm like, Star Wars is for kids, and we know it's for kids. Everybody knows this is a kids show. But I like the fact that we are, explaining that whole child psychology thing, and we're talking about how these kids are being interacted with these characters, because we only ever really saw it with Anakin. We didn't see it with anybody. Luke's 18, he's a kid, but he's not a kid. We've now started exploring like
actually he's 19.
Oh. There's 2 sons. Which son did he go around first? How about that? So yeah, it's one of those things where now we're getting into how these people are interacting with younglings, right? But I thought it was interesting that they answered the fact like, yeah, Star Wars, and Jedi, they don't steal children. Okay, done. That's been like the running gag all the time, and that's been a thing.
It's fucking dumb that we had to have a character say it.
I know, but guess what? Some fucking people are idiots. But like Star Wars theory, because let's be real here, guys. These shows are pulling a lot of shit from the EU. They're pulling it's a lot of shit from Rebels, right? Or not Rebels, Legends. But a lot of shit from Legends, a lot of shit from the EU. And the fact that we're getting stuff brought in from there after this so long of a time to be waiting for, people are bitching about it. So it's like everybody's saying right now, like, oh, Anakin's not special because look at this. They made 2 children out of nothing. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, dumb fucks. You want to call the EU your religious doctrine, but you'll only pick and choose? Sounds familiar. You only want to pick and choose the things that help you complain about it? Because, for instance...
I feel like this is about me.
No. But I said this earlier with you guys, like, right? So... we have stuff like I didn't even read all of Legends, and I have no problem saying that. I did not read all of it. Sure, I don't know everything about the EU, but I do know at least the fact that there was Sith alchemy, right? We're like creating life and doing those things. It exists in the EU. It exists in Legends, and in that story timeline, that stuff was banned because of obvious fucking reasons. So now when they're trying to bring it into the canon that we are experiencing, it makes fucking sense that clearly those children are a problem. Clearly that's not gonna, wonder why Palpatine couldn't do it. Wonder why Palpatine couldn't just, create life out of nothing and he had to clone and had issues with cloning. Like, there's a lot to unpack, but like, you can't just pick and choose things. I see Jaden scratching his head, but
I'm gonna let you finish before I clap back.
I just think that like if we're getting stuff that's being brought in from the stuff you want to be brought in, why are you freaking out when you're like, it breaks everything? It's like, did it not break everything before? But also, I will also add that I think the person with the red lightsaber at the moment, I'm gonna have my Jaden moment right now. I think it's Mother Coral. I think she survived, and I think she's been training May. And that's just my first thought of who that fucking person is.
Possibly. So I'll mediate here really quick. Jaden, in your response, I'd like you to incorporate, because you mentioned this earlier, you said something about how there's a canon break in this episode. So
yes,
respond to Kevin and touch on that if you can.
Kevin implied on this. I like this debate. You need to give me rules like the smiling friend. You have 1 second to respond, and you're done. Also, you suck. No, you're close, Kevin. You're real close. The problem, what you're doing here is that you're implying that they actually thought about that shit while writing The Rise of Skywalker.
I'm not even talking about that shit.
No, you are, because you said like the Sith alchemy thing, and why was when Palpatine used that? No, they weren't fucking thinking about that. First of all,
I was talking about.
Second of all, Sith alchemy has never been implied that it could create life like that. So he could manipulate life. Mm-hmm. Plagueis could manipulate it to create life in the sense of like maintaining life. Yeah. There was never like. It's never been said, because I've seen a lot of people saying this, and you said it too in our pre-show, of like, oh, well, Plagueis created Anakin Skywalker. That's how he did it. It's like, no, that's never been confirmed. It will never be confirmed. That is a stupid fucking theory. That would be really fucking dumb, because why would he do it for a slave in the middle of nowhere? Why would he not do it like Palpatine's secret child? Which, again, is dumb. That's Rise of Skywalker. The way that it's breaking canon, to explain for those of you who don't know, the implication is that if this random witch lady can manipulate the Force to create life, then Anakin Skywalker is not special anymore, because any Force user who has the ability could do it. And I'm going to get hate for this. I can kind of see where they're coming from on that. However, what we've seen, the difference is, Osha sucks as a Jedi.
Yeah.
Sucks real bad.
Oh, yeah.
May, better, still sucks. She couldn't even take on Soul by herself. Anakin Skywalker was a Jedi with a metachlorian count so high it had never been seen before in the history of the galaxy. Before or since.
Couldn't you argue, though, that he was a bad Jedi by definition because he fell to the dark side? Like, a good Jedi can live in harmony with their emotions, and he didn't.
I'm not arguing his qualities as a Jedi. I'm arguing his conception, his power, his raw power.
Okay, but my second question.
Yes.
I guess the criticism that this episode has gotten is that if the Witch Coven, Mother Anastasia, and Mother Coral can just create babies without, sperm, without a father, whatever, without even a donor, which, because we have lesbian mothers in real life. It does happen. It's just like, so I guess the criticism is, if they can do it with just the Force, the thread, then Anakin is not special. The prophecy of the chosen one is kind of moot and doesn't mean anything. But my question is, like, what if the prophecy of the chosen one was always bullshit? What if it was always just an empty? Because, like, that's kind of what all prophecies are. Correct. They're almost always written in retro, where, like, hey, we're going to say that we predict a certain thing that we already know has happened or will happen, and just claim it as prophetic knowledge. Or, it's like cold reading, where we're going to predict something really vague and then pretend that we knew it would happen later.
Well, it's like
it's the thing about Anakin is, like,
Connor, you are completely correct. It has been heavily implied that the prophecy was bullshit from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not, because in the end, Anakin did bring balance to the Force.
Well, hold on. So
in an indirect way. That's what I mean by the vague. Hold on, that's what I mean by the vague cold reading thing. When you say like I'm going to predict that tomorrow I will find $5. Like I can go to the bank and ask for a $5 bill. And then I'm going to say, "Well, look, I predicted a $5 bill. Look." And so like when you word things vaguely and then something later happens, you can apply it to what you predicted. So the whole bring balance to the force thing, like, yeah, it took like 30 years for it to happen, but it happened eventually when it might have happened anyway. So it's kind of like taking credit for something that would have happened anyway. That's what I mean by prophecies can be manipulated and vaguely worded and that they're always full of shit. That's what I mean.
Here's what we're going to do. First of all, Connor and I are going to start a constitutional law podcast.
Hell yeah, let's go.
I would love to hear his takes on certain amendments. That'd be very fun.
Oh, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, some would argue you don't know what we're talking about now. I'm just kidding.
Hey-o.
No, I think that the idea of Anakin Skywalker as the chosen one, I think that you got to remember that the pressure that he was under as the chosen one is is one of the big reasons why he fell to the dark side in the first place.
I disagree.
Like Obi-Wan screaming at him, "You were the chosen one." I think there was the hidden pressure of like you were supposed to be the guy who was great and you failed us because you were selfish.
I disagree with that. So I look at it like, for instance, this is a way that I think, like, for instance, if we were going to have Plagueis involved in some way, like, this is how it could work.
We will never have Plagueis involved.
Just think. Just hold on. I'm going to pull the Matrix on you again. We're bringing the Matrix up again. Neo being the, quote, the one, right? That was all bullshit. That was orchestrated by the architect to make him think he was special, give him that Messiah complex, so he was more willing to sacrifice himself for Zion, right? And then the cycle gets to restart, right? Like that was the whole point. It was a manipulation tactic. You're supposed to feel special. You're supposed to have that Messiah complex. And I almost see that as that's the reason why Anakin fell, is because he had a Messiah complex, because he thought all the time he was the shit. He was the bee's knees. And guess what? No matter what, he's going to be all right because he's the chosen one. And that's why him betraying the Jedi, nothing wrong with that. Maybe he was like, oh, well, actually, I'm the one who's supposed to do this because the Jedi are too powerful. And blah, 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 blah.
There are thousands of dead Jedi that would argue there is a problem with him.
But
that's balance to the Force, though. That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay, that's not what that means, but people think that's what that means.
Well, think about that.
It's all about interpretation, though.
What's the balance? There's no dark users, and so now it's only supposed to be light. How is that balanced? Same thing with like May and fucking Osha. One's a yin, one's a yang. That's kind of how it's looking, right?
Do you want an answer, or do you just want to yell?
No, give me the answer.
No, answer,
right.
Please. Yeah.
So the interpretation that is believed to be the correct interpretation of this, I feel like we're debating Old and New Testament lore, by the way.
A little bit, yeah.
I don't know if my Catholic father is proud or ashamed, because I know way more about this than the other one. The interpretation is that the dark side, when the dark side is allowed to take power and take root in the galaxy, the Sith use the Force as a weapon, as a tool, and they corrupt it and use it for evil. Mm-hmm. The Jedi use it to the whole Jedi motto is balance, to try to find inner peace, balance with the Force. When the Sith are eliminated from the galaxy, there is the belief that the Force is now in balance because it is only being used for, at worst, neutral
purposes.
You know, by because I would argue, I'm gonna say it right now, I think that the Witch Coven we saw, neutral.
Mostly neutral.
Yeah. Mostly neutral. The corrupting thing, not great.
We didn't see, that's what I was. I was thinking that too. Like, I didn't see them plot like to take over a planet or like kill people. Like, I didn't see them plot anything nefarious. They were just kind of doing their thing. Yeah.
Well, we don't know what they were planning with these kids.
True. I'm just going by what I saw in the episode.
Yeah, but that is to say that is where we think the interpretation of the Force being in balance is, and that's why Obi-Wan felt more betrayed with Anakin, because Anakin opened the fucking floodgates and now the entire galaxy is suffering, when he was supposed to bring balance to the Force, not leave it in quote unquote in darkness.
Mm-hmm. Fair. This is all beside the point of the whole immaculate Force conception thing that Anakin is kind of
but getting back to that,
sure.
It has never been. There's been theories and rumors that either Palpatine or Plagueis manipulated the midichlorians of the Force to create Anakin. Here is why that is bullshit. Anakin is more powerful than both of them.
Mm-hmm.
By the definition of he is the most powerful. Siri yelled at me. Even Siri's disagreeing with me. My entire world is shattered tonight. Anakin Skywalker has the most raw power of any Force user ever. More powerful than Plagueis, more powerful than Palpatine even says Lord Vader will become more powerful than either of us.
Right.
So there is no fucking way for him to have been able to do that. I don't think that they're able to create someone more powerful than themselves through the Force.
But through fucking, let me tell you, Luke Skywalker.
But by manipulating the Force itself, could they not influence the Force itself to embed itself into, create a child? Like it's one of those things where it's like, imagine Plagueis and Palpatine pushing a boulder off a cliff.
Right.
Now they wouldn't normally by themselves be powerful enough to just move that boulder as far as it goes, but by pushing it, they set it in motion. That's what I always interpret it as. Like, yeah, Anakin is more powerful than both of them, but that's because they like kind of pushed the Force in that direction. That's what I thought
there is now to your point, Connor. There is a theory that children of Jedi are more powerful than their parents. Mm-hmm. There is that theory. So which again was why like, oh well, Anakin's baby daddy is the Force itself. So like that's why he's so fucking strong.
Right.
And that's why Luke's even stronger because EU Luke is fucking broken. Like you want to talk about broken characters, EU Luke. It's in a gloriously fun way because it's like he goes like, I don't want to kill you. Please stop. Just calm down.
My personal headcanon though for Anakin though, like what I think happened, Shmi's just lying. Shmi slept around and just didn't want to admit it. And listen, that's the simplest explanation. Occam's razor here. Let's just say like, hey, most obvious, simple solution. She just doesn't know who the dad is, and it doesn't matter because she's a single mom. So hey, who cares? And he just happens to be the most powerful Jedi who ever lived because why not?
Side note,
because
it actually was Palpatine. He went to Tatooine.
Yeah.
Picked her up at the Mos Eisley Cantina one night.
Yep.
They did the shuffle to the Biff band. What are they called? Those guys with the big eyes. Anyway, so
unfortunately, because Disney hates everything fun, it's no longer called a jizz band.
Oh no!
They took that from us.
They're called the Cummies.
You took my jizz. I'll never forgive you for it.
God damn it!
All right, this is getting off the rails.
I'll bring us home for this. That is to say, everything that y'all are pissed about, because I'm annoyed at things too. But you got to remember here, if Disney decides, yeah, that's how this works now. That's how this works now.
Yeah, like it or not, they determine what's canon. So
we'll find out. We'll find out as soon as someone tells me, hey, this is how that works now. You're wrong. Yeah. I'm gonna be like,
and look, if you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Listen, the beauty about Star Wars is that you can pick like, hey, you know what? I only like these movies, so I'm going to watch these movies.
Yeah, it's not like when new shit comes out, the old stuff that you like gets just deleted from history. You can still go back and enjoy it anytime you want. It still exists. And I'll call out someone right now too, the Critical Drinker. I'm fucking sick of this motherfucker. He comes on, he just goes on the internet every week and goes, Star Wars is done. I'm done. I'm done with this. Like, are you done? Are you really? Because you keep fucking running your mouth about it. Like, if you're done, then stop fucking watching and stop bitching about it. Like, protect your peace, man. Like, do what you like. Stop doing what you don't like. What the fuck's wrong with you? So, yeah, that personally, I'm in camp. Anakin just is powerful for no reason. He has a father he doesn't know about. Prophecies are all full of shit. They don't mean anything. And,
keep Connor away from any Catholic church.
Zora High is bullshit.
I mean, I'm many years removed from my militant atheist phase, but I'll fall back into it if you make me.
And then to give you a nice healthy contrast that, yeah, Anakin's still the chosen one. It's fine. I mean, yeah, great example of this. Osha and May suck. They're not good. They're not as good as the Jedi. Like they killed Indara. I'll give May this. She killed Indara. That seems like that was pretty good. Yeah. But she couldn't kill Sol, and it's implied that Sol isn't as strong as Indara. So I'm like, what's going on there?
I would like to note, Indara died strictly because she defended an innocent.
True.
She let her guard down to save someone else's life, and that's what gave May the opening she needed. So, like, in a fair fight with no bystanders, Indara would have cleared, I'm guessing.
But a Jedi died not from a lightsaber.
Cry about it.
Oh,
yeah,
right,
so what?
Right.
Blades still cut them open, they bleed to death. That's still something that can happen. Anyway, I think we've droned on long enough. I want to thank you all for listening. That'll wrap up this episode. We hope you enjoyed. And if you did enjoy it, please take a second to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us grow the show. Be sure to connect with us on Instagram and Twitter, at The Lost Cantina. And feel free to email us. Kevin, how can they email us?
They can email us at thelostcantinapod@gmail.com.
Let us know what you thought of this episode of The Acolyte, our coverage of it, our discussion. Whatever you think. Don't be a stranger. Let us know. And once again, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.